Hi, just another quick one on rhetorical devices. This one's from Yale. Fair use, educational purposes. Although it doesn't say anything on this PDF that it's copyrighted or there's no copyright thing on it anyway. But just in case. Although that only applies to the person. I'm not a person, I'm a man, and I'm very much alive. Thank you very much. I'm not going to do many on these top ones. I might do a video on them later. It's just the next bit I want to get down to. But we're just going to have a quick look at the couple of these here. Allusion is an indirect reference to something, usually a literary text, although it can be other things commonly known, such as plays, songs, historical events, with which the reader is supposed to be familiar, like Eratosthenes, Newton and the Apple, Galileo, Kepler, all these others that they come out with. Things that you're supposed to be familiar with, historical events and stuff. Yeah, which we don't know if they happened or not, because we weren't there. We have to believe the words of another man to believe. There's the anecdote, which is a brief recounting of a relevant episode. Anecdotes are often inserted into fictional or non-fictional texts as a way of developing a point or injecting humour. Same sort of thing as the stories from history. His story. I said I'm not going to go through many of these properly. This one here, imagery, word or words that create a picture in the reader's mind. Usually this involves the five senses. Authors often use imagery in conjunction with metaphors, similes, or figures of speech. So this is like not actually images of things, but words that are used, and as soon as people read that word, they get that mental image of what they perceive it to be. Yeah. It's not all this I'm bothered about. It's this bit down here. I'll get to it here. Rhetorical terms specifically related to logic and argumentation. This is what we want. Argument. An argument is a piece of reasoning with one or more premises and a conclusion. Essentially, every essay is an argument that begins with the conclusion, the thesis, and then sets up the premises. An argument, or the thesis to an argument, is also sometimes called a claim, a proposition, or a position or a stance. Premise 1, which would be your major premise, that all spam is pink. The minor premise is I am eating spam. Well, I don't, because I'm a vegetarian, but conclusion, I am eating something that is pink. Premises, statements offered as reasons to support a conclusion, are premises. Conclusion. A conclusion is the end result of the argument, the main point being made. In an argument, one expects that the conclusion will be supported with reasons or premises. Moreover, these premises will be true and will, in fact, lead to the conclusion. Aristotle's appeals. The goal of argumentative writing, or speaking, because you can use argumentative speaking as well, is to persuade an audience that one's ideas are valid, or more valid than someone else's. The Greek philosopher Aristotle divided all means of persuasion, appeals, into three categories. You've got ethos, pathos, and logos. Well, ethos is an appeal to authority, appeal to credibility. It means being convinced by the credibility of the author or the speaker. We tend to believe people whom we respect. In an appeal to ethos, a writer, or a speaker, tries to convince the audience that he or she someone worth listening to. That he or she is someone worth listening to. In other words, an authority on the subject, as well as someone who is likeable and worthy of respect. Well, respect is thrown around too much these days. Respect's earned, if you ask me. Also, see the fallacy of appeal to authority. An argument that relies too heavily on ethos without any corroborating logos can become a fallacy. So people that are arguing because of appeals to authority all the time and appeal to credibility and everything all the time with no appeal to logic, that's a fallacy. Pathos, which is an emotional appeal to your emotions. It means persuading by appealing to the reader's or listener's emotions. Also see the fallacy of appeal to emotion. An argument that relies too much on emotion without any corroborating logos, which is appeal to logic, can become a fallacy. Logos, logical, means persuading by the use of reasoning, using true premises and valid arguments. This is generally considered the strongest form of persuasion. Concession, accepting at least part or all of an opposing viewpoint. Often used to make one's own argument stronger by demonstrating that one is willing to accept what is obviously true and reasonable, even if it is presented by the opposition. Sometimes also called multiple perspectives, because the author is accepting more than one position is true. As true. Sometimes a concession is immediately followed by a rebuttal of the concession. Conditional statement. A conditional statement is an if-then statement and consists of two parts: an antecedent and a consequent. If you studied hard, then you will pass the test. Conditional statements are often used as premises in an argument. So the first major premise would be, if I eat spam, then I will throw up. That's the conditional statement. The premises, I have eaten spam, which is your minor premise. Your conclusion would be, ergo, I will throw up. Contradiction. A contradiction occurs when one asserts two mutually exclusive propositions, such as abortion is wrong and abortion is not wrong. Since a claim and its contradictory cannot both be true, one of them must be false. Counterexample. A counterexample is an example that runs counter to i.e. it opposes a generalization, thus falsifying it. So the first premise would be, Jane argued that all whales are endangered. But then belugas are a type of whale, which would be your second premise. And there'd be another premise saying that belugas are not endangered. So the conclusion would be, therefore, Jane's argument is unsound, because all whales are not endangered. If belugas are a type of whale and they're not endangered, then all whales are not endangered. Yeah? Deductive argument. An argument in which it is thought that the premises provide a guarantee of the truth of the conclusion. In a deductive argument, the premises are intended to provide support for the conclusion. That is so strong that, if the premises are true, it would be impossible for the conclusion to be false. Also see inductive argument. Fallacy. Now we see a lot of this. A fallacy is an attractive but unreliable piece of reasoning. Writers and speakers do not want to make obvious fallacies in their reasoning, but they are often used unintentionally, or when the writer or speaker thinks they can get away with faulty logic. Common examples of fallacies include the following: ad hominem, Latin for against a man. Personally attacking your opponents instead of their arguments. It is an argument that appeals to emotion rather than reason, feeling rather than intellect. So, anything like from name calling, which is a form of ad hominem attack, to putting into question your education, your social status, your background, where you live, who you are, what you look like, everything else. Right? They're all forms of ad hominem. All forms of ad hominem attack. Appeal to authority. The claim that because somebody famous supports an idea, the idea must be right. This fallacy is often used in advertising. But any appeal to any authority is fallacious anyway, in my honest opinion. Because you don't know if they've got an agenda or a financial or monetary gain behind what they're saying or pushing, you know what I mean? They could have an agenda behind what they're doing. You don't know. So any appeal to authority is fallacious. Especially if you're using it as well, just as in an argument, to try and back your claim. as well. Appeal to the bandwagon, which is argumentum ad populum as well. The claim as evidence for an idea that many people believe it or used to believe it or do it. In the 1800s, there was a widespread belief that bloodletting cured sickness. All of these people were not just wrong, but horribly wrong, because in fact it made people sicker. Clearly, the popularity of an idea is no guarantee that it's right. Just because the heliocentric model is believed and by everybody and everyone accepts it as their worldview, which is a type a religion. If the heliocentric model, if it's the worldview, and you have to believe it, and you have to have faith in the people that tell you about it, and believe what they're saying and have faith in them, and have that as your worldview, the heliocentric model, then that is a religion. That's a definition of a religion. Appeal to emotion, an attempt to replace a logical argument with an appeal to the audience's emotions. Common emotional appeals are an appeal to sympathy, an appeal to revenge, an appeal to patriotism. Basically, any emotion can be used as an appeal. Bad analogy. Claiming that two situations are highly similar when they aren't. What's this? We have pure food and drug laws regulating what we put in our bodies. Why can't we have laws to keep musicians from giving us filth for the mind? Yeah, but the food and drug laws stopping us putting regulating that we put in our bodies, but you're still putting stuff in there that's crap for you anyway. All these fucking chemicals and all this shit, aspartame and fluoride and all this other crap, which are neurotoxins. Cliche thinking, using as evidence a well-known saying, as if it is proven or as if it has no exceptions. So cliche thinking, so people use as evidence a well-known saying as if it's proven or as if it has no exceptions. When they come out with, gravity, that's cliche thinking. Because they're using that as evidence. It's a well-known saying. Everyone goes, gravity. What holds all the oceans to the earth? Gravity. Why do things fall? Gravity. Why have pink unicorns got pink spots? Oh, gravity. Why would pink unicorns wouldn't have pink spots because you wouldn't see them, would you? Why have pink unicorns got yellow spots? There we go, that's better. Oh, gravity. Yeah. So when people use the word gravity for everything, that's cliche thinking. Yeah. America, love it or leave it. Anyone who disagrees with anything our country does must hate America. So maybe they should just move somewhere else. Or you could say England or any country that you're in, but then that's appeal to patriotism and stuff like that. You know, that's patriotism and that's bullshit. You shouldn't have patriotism. You should stand on your own 2 feet, be your own man or woman. False cause. Assuming that because two things happened, the first one caused the second one. Sequence is not causation. Like I said, a lot of these things in here, they're not my opinions, I'm just reading out what's on here. Before women got the vote, there were no nuclear weapons. Therefore, women's suffrage must have led to nuclear weapons. See, that's false cause, you know? Like I said, it's not my opinion. I mean, it's not my opinion. I'm just reading out what's on here. But that is an example of a false cause. Or just because the moon appears in the sky and there is a high tide doesn't mean the moon has caused the tides. Yeah? Unless you can demonstrate that practically. Unless you can get a body of water, get a mass above that water, and see if you can attract that water towards that mass. Demonstrate it practically. But you can't, can you? Because you'll just use the excuse of, oh no, the earth gets in the way. Oh no, the moon gets in the way. Oh no, the gravity of the earth and the moon gets in the way. So that's not science then, is it? That's pseudoscience. That's a religion. It's like asking someone, can you show me your God? Oh no, I can't show you God. No. He's invisible. He's a magician in the sky, wizard in the sky. Can't show you my God. Can't show you. Yeah, it's the same thing. Saying when you show me a practical demonstration of a mass causing the water to bulge out and to make a high and low tide. Oh yeah, look at the moon. That's circular reasoning. You can't do that. Show me a practical demonstration. They can't. Yeah. Excuses. Hasty generalization. A generalization based on too little or unrepresentative data. An example would be, according to this PDF, my uncle didn't go to college and he makes a lot of money. So people who don't go to college do just as well as those who do. It's the education system anyway. It's based on a Prussian education system using Serval and utilitarian arts to keep the current paradigm, give you just enough to keep the current paradigm going, just enough for you to run the machines, to get a job, just enough to keep you in serfdom and in slavery. So you tie tie the chains to your own ankles. You know what I mean? Keep you emotionally stunted, so you afterward use these appeals to authority to keep you educationally stunted, like I said, to keep the paradigm going and just keep the machines going, and to keep you spiritually stunted as well. So you don't know who you are, where you are, like that. Yeah, which is the case which we've found out. Yeah. Non sequitur. A conclusion that does not follow from its premises. An invalid argument, which would be Hinduism is one of the world's largest religious groups. It is also one of the world's oldest religions. Hinduism helps millions of people lead happier, more productive lives. Therefore, the principles of Hinduism must be true. See, religion, no religion is what they call it true to me. All religion's false. It's just another control mechanism to control people. I've never subscribed to any organised religion. Slippery slope. The assumption that once started, a situation will continue to its most extreme possible outcome. If you drink a glass of wine, then you'll soon be drinking all the time, and then you'll become a homeless alcoholic. Not wrong with a glass of wine. Inductive argument. Everything in moderation. An argument in which it is thought that the premises provide reasons supporting the probable truth of the conclusion. In an inductive argument, the premises are intended only to be so strong that, if they are true, then it is unlikely that the conclusion is false. See also a deductive argument. Sound argument. A deductive argument is said to be sound if it meets two conditions. First, that the line of reasoning from the premises to the conclusion is valid. Second, that the premises are true. So you also have to make sure that the premises are true. Yeah, and the conclusion is valid. It goes with the premises. If you can't prove that your premises are true, then your conclusion can't be valid. You've got to be able to prove that your premises are true first. Unstated premises. Not every argument is fully expressed. Sometimes premises or even conclusions are left unexpressed, which is a truncated syllogism, which is an enthymeme. So you have to fill in the blanks yourself from your social conditioning. If one argues that Rover is smart because all dogs are smart, he is leaving unstated that Rover is a dog. Here, the unstated premise is no problem. Indeed, it would probably be obvious in context, but sometimes unstated premises are problematic, particularly if two parties in a discussion are making differing assumptions. There you go with your assumptions. You should try and get rid of your assumption. Don't assume anything. Don't believe anything. Don't assume anything. Get a knowing. Valid argument. An argument is valid if the conclusion logically follows from the premises. The following argument is valid because it is impossible for the premises to be true and the conclusion to nevertheless be false. We do not know if the argument is sound because we do not know if the premises are true or not. Yeah. So the premise: either Elizabeth owns a Honda or she owns a Saturn. Premise: Elizabeth does not own a Honda, therefore Elizabeth owns a Saturn. Why have they got to get Saturn in there? I don't know. What's a planet? Is there a car called Saturn or something? I don't know. Never heard of it. There must be. The following argument is also valid because the conclusion does follow logically from the premises. However, the argument is not sound because one of its premises is clearly untrue. First premise. All flightless birds are man-eaters. The penguin is a flightless bird. Therefore, the penguin is a man-eater. Yeah, fucking man-eating penguins. That's why we're not allowed to go to Antarctica, because there's man-eating penguins. Well, you can go, but you've got to have permission and all sorts of permits and all sorts of stuff. And they make it virtually impossible for you to go, with all the rules and regulations you've got to follow. But yeah, that's probably why we're not allowed to go there, because all flightless birds are man-eaters. Look, penguin is a flightless bird, therefore a penguin is a man-eater. Oh, see, they're doing it for his own good anyway, look, because penguins are eaters. Sorry. Trying to be funny. It weren't funny. The following argument is not valid, even though its premises are true. All baseballs are round. All basketballs are round. No football is round. I think they're on about American football here, not soccer, what we call football. Because American football's like a rugby ball, isn't it? The earth is round. What the fuck? The earth is either a baseball or a basketball, but not a football or a rugby ball. But by saying the earth is round, right? That you need to define what you mean by round, because a coin can be round, a hula hoop can be round, a plate can be round, a roundabout that you drive around can be round. Well, it is round, that's why they call it a roundabout. But yeah, but you know what I mean? It shows you it's everywhere. Programming's everywhere. And that's the last bit of that anyway. That was revised in March 2011, it says. So it's a few years old, about 7 years old now, but it's still sound. Still good. I'm going to find another one that's to corroborate this one anyway, and I'll do another video later. But all baseballs are round. Well, I'd say all baseballs are spherical. Right. Thank you. Bye.